Trails. Trails through Leavenworth County. The history of Leavenworth County is tied to the trails for the exploration and migration of the West. The Army post, established to protect the frontier of the United States after Missouri became a state, instead became the jumping-off point and staging area for westward migration. But even before the movement of Europeans into the Kansas Territory, others traveled through this land. Buffalo Trails. The first trails through our area were formed by the massive herds of buffalo searching for water and food. The massive herds pounded visible paths through the prairie grass which the migrating bands of Native Americans used as they passed, knowing that water would be within reach. Indian Trails. Indian trails crisscrossed Kansas and our area, using the paths formed by the buffalo. Pilot Knob in Leavenworth was used as a guidepost by the Native Americans long before anyone began thinking about guiding steamboats. Lewis and Clark. Lewis and Clark landed along the Missouri River in several places, stopping in Leavenworth in their long journey across the West. Their journey began at the order of President Thomas Jefferson upon obtaining the enormous area known as the Louisiana Purchase from the French in 1803. Army cartographers and military engineers Lewis and Clark landed in Leavenworth on July 2, 1804, and returned again on September 14, 1806. Military Road. The first of the military roads to be surveyed across Kansas began at Cantonment, now Fort Leavenworth, and ran south to the Kaw River at Grinter's Ferry near Bonner Springs. It crossed the river and went south to what later became Fort Scott, and to Fort Coffee, and on down to the Arkansas River where Fort Gibson was established. Another important military road was northwestward of Fort Leavenworth to the Platte River. It was the earliest routing of the California and Oregon Trail, and was followed by the Leavenworth and Pikes Peak Express. This was said to be the best natural route across the plains. The military road between Cantonments Leavenworth and Riley was constructed between 1838 and 1844. This road was designed to speed travel between the military posts and assist the covered wagons beginning their journey west. Oregon Trail. The famous Oregon Trail went through Leavenworth County in 1842. It was also known as the Overland Trail, the Salt Lake Trail, and the Oregon-California Trail. The Oregon Trail carried people traveling west to Oregon and California, while the Santa Fe Trail mostly carried goods and later weapons used in the Mexican War. The main Oregon Trail was a system of feeder trails and variants. After Fort Kearny was established in 1848 on the Oregon Trail, a military road between Fort Leavenworth and Fort Kearny was necessary. It passed 9 miles west of Atchison to a junction with the Oregon Trail near Marysville, Kansas, about 130 miles west of Fort Leavenworth. Santa Fe Trail. The Santa Fe Trail was composed of two parts. The lower trail began in 1821, while the upper trail, which went through Fort Leavenworth among other places, began in 1846. Indeed, Fort Leavenworth was originally established to protect traffic on the Santa Fe Trail. Fort Leavenworth was the main terminal in Kansas of the Santa Fe Trail during the Civil War because it was considered secure and not subject to rebel raiders. The Fort Leavenworth Historical Society placed markers to show the route that the Santa Fe and Oregon Trails followed through the post. The main branch of the upper trail started at Westport. Another branch led from Fort Leavenworth, following a westward path across the military reservation. It passed near Grant's statue at the fort, wound past the National Cemetery, and into Salt Creek Valley, following generally what would be considered U.S. Highway 73. At 8 Mile House, the trail veered southwest, crossing Stranger Creek, and then westward through Jefferson and Shawnee counties to the present site of Topeka, where it crossed the Kansas River by ferry. This route covered 780 miles to Santa Fe. The first stagecoach to venture the 2-week journey charged $250.